My scholarly paper for the Ethics and Issues in Nursing course is called Consent or No Consent, Practicing on the Newly Dead. What I'll do is read through a portion of it so that you have an idea of what I was writing about, and then I'll explain how I went through the topic when I was putting the paper together, and also kind of touch on how thinking about this topic and researching it helped to enhance my understanding of spiritual care. So here's a part of the paper. Performing medical procedures such as endotracheal intubation and central venous catheterization on newly expired patients is a traditional training activity among physicians. Berger, Rosner, and Cassell, 2002. While the general public might not be aware of this practice, it is known and acknowledged in the arena of medical education. Berger, Rosner, and Cassell, 2002. One study found that of 234 internal medicine residents at 3 different facilities, 16% had practiced on the newly dead. Berger, Rosner, and Cassell, 2002. The value of this training activity is undeniable. Practicing on a dead body with living tissues provides an experience that cannot be matched short of practicing on a living person. The experience cannot be replicated on a cadaver in an anatomy lab. The consistency of tissues has been altered by preservatives, and organs are squished and vessels are clogged. Simulated mannequin technology cannot match the experience either, at least not yet. For these reasons, training on the newly dead is undeniably a valuable practice for medical professionals and for future patients that will benefit from their honed life-saving skills. The ethical dilemma discussed here is not whether or not it is acceptable to practice procedures on the newly dead. The dilemma is whether or not it is acceptable to do so without consent. While the reasons for practicing on the newly dead are indisputable, the reasons for not seeking consent are not. My process for researching this paper started with Google. I looked around for ethical issues that were in the medical field that I was interested in. So I came upon a couple discussions about medical students who practiced life-saving procedures on patients who had recently died in the hospital setting. And I was interested in it because I have a mild obsession with research hospitals and the work that they do. I have a great respect for nursing professionals, medical professionals, physicians who dedicate their time and are passionate about teaching the next generation of practitioners. So I took this topic further and looked at our database at school of peer-reviewed journals and peer-reviewed articles, and I think I found 2 articles. And the way I came up with my thesis was it seemed like a lot of the support for not seeking consent was based around that this practice is so valuable. And I was thinking, yeah, the practice is valuable, but that doesn't mean that not seeking consent is okay. So that's kind of the premise of the paper, and what I did was I went through each of the arguments for not seeking consent, and I held them up against the ethical principles that we were learning in this class and kind of tried to debase them. So I have some paragraphs in this paper that are debasing arguments against consent, and then other paragraphs that stand more independently as just being straight up for seeking consent.